Baradwaj Raman is one of the leading Veena exponents of today. Born to a musical family, Baradwaj grew up listening to his grandfather, the great Veena maestro Padma Bhushan Dr. S. Balachander's music. Bharadwaj's music is pure SB style. Particularly noteworthy is his ability to play long phrases modulating the string on the same fret, a hallmark of the SB style that one seldom comes across. A leading classical Carnatic Vainika, Baradwaj Raman performs widely in India and abroad. He has been honored with the titles of Nadakala Vipanchi and Tamil Yar Isai Selvan. Hello and welcome to the Empathic Designer podcast. I'm your host Vytheeshwaran, and today on our episode we have stepped out from the closed confines of my home and we're out here at Mr. Baradwaj Raman's studio. He's my special guest today, a great Veena artist, and we are here to talk about teaching the Veena, the Carnatic musical instrument, online, and we are here to learn a little bit from some of Mr. Baradwaj's experience. So Baradwaj, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this nice experience and the podcast you're doing.
Thank you. So, how long have you been teaching music online and how many students do you have?
So, I've been teaching online for the past probably few years, three to 4 years, but then I'm getting more students now because of this lockdown. I'm getting more people interested in learning online. The only thing is, even people who have no clue about Carnatic music or people who have no clue about Veena want to learn from me through online, which is quite a tough call. But still, okay. I'm trying to manage and try to figure out how I can teach people online that is beginners through online.
Right. So where are your students located?
So Bangalore, I have one student in Tiruchi, one student in Bombay, one in Hyderabad, one student in US, one in I think they're in Canada. So I've got a few students throughout the world. Just that each of them have their different time zones, and for me, teaching through different time zones takes a toll on my health.
Okay.
So I'll have to be aware of the scheduling that I do in such a way that I don't have I don't have less sleep as such. So right. I don't let's sacrifice my sleep for something like this.
Okay, great. So what levels do you teach online?
So I see, if it is vocal, it'll be easy to teach online because I'm singing and then the person hears me singing, as opposed to Veena, which is anyway a soft instrument. So for me to teach Veena online becomes a little difficult if it's for a beginner. So for them to understand the fingering techniques, for them to understand the positioning of the instrument, how to play, how to know how to keep your hand and all that becomes very difficult to teach a beginner, as opposed to someone who is a little well versed in the instrument, who have a fair idea on what they're doing, how they're handling the instrument. If they have a basic idea of the structure of the instrument, how they can handle it, then it's easy for me to teach.
Right. But then, so you mean to say that some basic level of fingering, if
some basic level of understanding of fingering technique, if it is there, then great. Otherwise, some people come to me asking how to position the instrument, how to hold the instrument. Do I have to keep this on that side, to keep this on this side? And then all right. That becomes a little difficult. Some people even try this. They don't even keep the hand underneath, and they don't hold the instrument properly. They do this thinking that this is how the Veena is played. So,
wow.
So okay. For them, so I'll have to start from the beginning, saying that this is how the Veena has to be positioned, this is how it has to be played, and then after playing, you have to do all this maintenance work. So that becomes a little, tough to explain to them.
Right.
So this is better to talk. I mean, this is better to teach them when they are on a one-on-one basis rather than online.
Right. So, so you talked about one-on-one basis. So how is this one-on-one class different from teaching them online? I'm sure there is a world of difference, but if you could talk to us a little bit around the specifics.
So basically, there is a lag between me saying something and completing a phrase, and then the message being conveyed to them because of a lag in internet or whatever. Okay. And then for them to understand that. So when it comes to rhythm part, it becomes very difficult to understand, as opposed to ragam, which is easy, because in ragam what we say are the notes and then the structure of the ragam or the melody.
Right.
So we explain the structure of the melody, they're able to understand the structure of the melody. But then if it's ragam, what happens is when I explain about a 4/4 beat, or if it's a 6/4 beat or 6/8 beat or whatever, so what happens is I convey the message, and then they might understand it a bit late. So there might be a lag in the way they understand it. There might be a lag in the way the information is conveyed to them. So always a one-on-one basis is much better when teaching basics, because if people are if they are in the intermediate stage, or if they know music as such, then they'll be able to interpret it better, as opposed to a beginner who finds it tough to interpret.
Okay, so if that is the case, then if your students have some basic level of how Carnatic music works, it might be a little easy, because if you're playing like ga ma pa, they will actually see it like ma pa da.
Correct.
Right.
And secondly, if they don't know the difference between ga 2 and ga 3, they might play something else, and I'll have to keep on repeating the same note again and again. So for them to understand ga 2 is ga 2 and ga 3 is ga 3, when I keep my finger, so the other aspect is, if they know Carnatic music, they'll be able to hear the notes and immediately recognize the notes.
Right.
So if I play ga 2, they should be able to hear ga 2 and recognize it as ga 2. They shouldn't be asking me enna note vastinga, or what note did you play. So in which case we'll know that they're not well versed in it, then they have to be trained on one-on-one basis for them to understand, because fingering techniques again become very important there.
Right. So how challenging is it to teach a complete beginner online?
So to challenge is more so for Veena than vocal. Vocal, it's actually easy to teach a complete beginner online, because you'll be explaining theory, you'll be explaining the song and the structure of the song, you'll be explaining the meaning of the composition, and then you'll be explaining the notes of the melody in which the composition is being composed, and then you'll be singing, and then you'll ask them to sometimes sing along, or you can ask them to record, and then for them to sing, they can listen and practice. So it's easy for vocal to understand, and they'll be able to, for beginners and intermediates to understand vocal, because they're hearing the notes again and again. Here also there is a conflict. If they know the notes, they'll be able to immediately recognize. If they don't know the notes, you'll have to explain to them the notes that you're singing. Right. If you sing a melody without singing the notes, then you will have to explain to them if they don't understand the melody as such. Then you will have to, deconstruct it. So you'll probably have to deconstruct the melody, and then you will have to deconstruct the structure of the melody, and then tell them what notes are part of the melody. If it is ragam or tanam or whatever, you will have to let them know that this is the phrase that you sang, these are notes in it. Whereas in Veena it's much more difficult, because apart from teaching the melody, apart from deconstructing the melody, I'll also have to teach them the fingering technique. Right. So it becomes more difficult for me to tell them to hold their fingers like this, and then play this particular phrase, and then also look at their fingers, and then look at the way they strum the instrument, and then all that has to synchronize. So teaching a beginner melody is quite challenging, but then that's where your prowess and your skill as a teacher comes into play.
Right. Okay. So talking about technique, you're actually known for your pulling technique that you have inherited from your grandfather, the great Veena Balachandar. I'm a big fan of great Veena Balachandar. So how challenging is it to teach your signature pulling style online?
So I have a structure. It's not syllabus as I would call it, but then something similar to a syllabus, where if it's on let's say a class basis. So once they have to come for a few classes, I'll check if they're able to do certain fingering techniques which I have imbibed from my grandfather. I'll see to it that they're able to play that. If they don't play that, then I won't force them to learn this particular bani, but then I'll still teach them whatever is possible, right? Which is necessary for enabling this ragam to be embellished in that particular way. So if I have to play a particular phrase, and if I want to hear it in a particular way, they can play in any technique they want, but I want to still hear the particular phrase in that particular way. So I'll be able to, so if it is, so it can be gama pa pa ma ga ga, or it can be gama pa pa ma ga ga. So the way you pull and play can still differ. The way you use your fingers and get that phrase out can differ, but then as long as you achieve playing that particular phrase in whatever way you play, it doesn't matter. So that's what I try to make sure. If they can play the particular phrase in the way I play, it will be great. Nothing like it. If it's not possible, I'll still try to make sure that they get the particular phrase.
Right. Can you do a quick demo of your grandfather's pulling style?
Sure.
Abash. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. So what I did right now is understanding the ragam, understanding the phrase, understanding where I can pull, where it may not sound good if I pull,
Right.
and then accordingly embellish the ragam.
Okay, okay. So there are certain places where you can and where you cannot pull.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So what happens is each time I practice this, I have to keep in mind that the pulling technique differs from phrase to phrase, melody to melody, ragam to ragam. It can't be the same for everything. I can't just say
Right.
I'm pulling from here to here. For every ragam, it can be the same. No, that's not possible at all. So so this is where knowledge comes into play. This is where ideas will have to synchronize with knowledge, and this is where techniques, pulling technique and fingering techniques become very important. Which is why teaching beginners through online is good, very challenging thing, and if
Right.
it is achieved, then it's nothing like it.
So it's actually, it sounds more like an amalgamation of art and science.
Correct. True.
Right,
True.
right.
True.
So we are seeing a lot of these applications coming up, these
Yes,
mobile applications.
yes.
It says you can learn a musical instrument online. I see a lot of these YouTube ads, especially popping up for me. I see that you can learn a guitar online, you can learn a piano online, a lot of other things are coming. So what is your opinion about such applications?
I've seen lots of that. Those applications, like it says like learn French in 60 days, learn German in 30 days,
Okay.
learn Sanskrit in 15 days. So basically, what happens is the tutor or the particular instructor will help us understand the broader perspective of it. They won't
Right.
be telling you and teaching you the techniques, and they won't be telling you the intricacies of it.
Right.
They'll introduce you to something which is a broader perspective of that particular field. So
Right.
if I say I can teach Veena in 30 days, I'll probably be able to help teach how to position the instrument, how to maintain the instrument, how to probably keep your fingers, how to strum, and then what notes are what, how you can play, what kind of tone you will get when you play. Apart from that, teaching the other advanced techniques is going to be challenging, and it can never be explained in like 30 days.
Right.
It's a process which will probably take a few years
Right.
to a decade to understand the complete use of an instrument, how to play an instrument, and then how
Right.
to effectively use phrases in an instrument. But then teaching something like this in 30 days, I'll probably teach how to maintain the instrument, how to keep your fingers, and how to strum.
Right.
That's the maximum.
So I think that is one of the unique things about our Carnatic music. The learning actually never really ends.
Correct.
Till
True.
our last day.
Correct.
So,
True. Every musician becomes a student till his last breath. That's the best part of it. And each teacher himself is a student. He learns from his students' mistakes also. So if
Right.
a student makes a mistake, the teacher immediately realizes that, oh, I think I did that mistake as a kid. So yeah, I can tell him not to do the same. So they learn from the students' experience, not just from their own experience.
that's actually one of the beauties of teaching.
Teaching, correct,
Right?
correct,
So
correct.
you become a learner yourself unconsciously, and you
Correct.
get to learn from
Correct.
your students as well as they learn from you. So
True.
that's
And the other thing is, most importantly, you as a student can ask any questions you want from a teacher, but you as a teacher, you will have to be scared that these questions are being asked to you. So you'll have to be prepared for them, right?
right.
So
That's so true.
that's very important, right?
Right. So, talking about that, I also see some musicians creating projects online. I mean, I've seen some classes on Udemy and Teachable and things like that, where they are teaching both vocal music as well as instrumental music in an asynchronous manner through pre-recorded videos and things like that. So what is your opinion on that?
Vocal music, yes, can be done. Not at all. It's not difficult as difficult as teaching Veena. So Veena, because fingering technique becomes a very important aspect of Veena playing and Veena teaching. Uh, so beginner level teaching beginners is going to be a little tough as opposed to teaching intermediates. So if they have a fair idea of the basics like Sarli Varsa and then Janta Varsa and all those Varsas, and then if they are able to play a bit of Geetham, and then if they have a the understanding of the instrument, that's what I basically want. Even if they don't know how to play all these Geethams and Varsas, it doesn't matter. If they have an understanding of where Ga is and where Re is, then I think we can start teaching them these songs.
Right.
So we'll probably start teaching them songs without gamakams or with minimal gamakams, with ragams like Kadana Kutuhalam and then Suposhini, like Raghu Abinchuva Revarora, and then Nata Kurunji, where pulling is minimal. Then once they get the hang of the way they can, the method of pulling and all that, then we can teach heavier ragams. But if they are not well versed in Veena at all,
Right.
then it becomes very difficult to teach. And because it is through online teaching, there is always a lag, internet lag, and there is always a buffer issue. So I'll have to teach, and then I'll have to play to a particular beat, and then I have to finish the whole cycle. Only then they'll be able to understand what I've played. Otherwise, they'll think of the melody being in a different position in the cycle. I'll be playing in some other position in the cycle. So there is always a time lag, and there is always an understanding lag also.
Right. So basically, when it comes to creating a video-based learning, you recommend creating basic level lessons with simpler ragas, with ragas like Natakuranji or something. And for advanced learners, you would probably go for a Bhairavi or
yes.
probably some complex ragas at that stage, which involves a lot of pulling and a lot of fingering techniques. Get involved. Okay, that's very nice. And you were talking to me about some of your plans as to creating some lessons for your learners and all those things. So we were having a lot of conversation. So what would you say that is your formula for creating this blended kind of a thing? Because from what you're saying, I understand that learning a musical instrument can be best achieved through a blended experience where some of the fundamentals can be taught face to face, and then we can probably go online for the rest. So what would be your formula for teaching Veena in a blended manner?
So initially, I definitely want my students to come and learn Veena for at least 3 to 4 months to get the basics. So they'll have to learn the verses like moving of fingers, splitting of fingers, trying to do methods of playing in such a way that you're not stuck to one particular method, you're imbibing every other method possible. So all this happens only if I can teach them direct on one-on-one classes. So if I have a particular way of playing a Sangati, I might learn something from them when I see them play, and I might probably able to teach them something else which is new to them. When I do it through video, there is one thing is the lag and all that. The second thing is what they understand may be completely different from what I teach. So you can only take the horse to the pond. You can't just make it drink. So if it is irrespective of whether it's online learning or direct learning, this matter is there. But we are able to close the gap if it is direct learning. In online learning, if they understand the basics of it, then if I go to online, what happens is they'll immediately know that I'm a musician who plays in this particular manner. So my let's say the assimilation and interpretation of the particular phrase will be like this, and they'll be able to understand that particular aspect of me playing that particular phrase, and then they'll be able to interpret it in the other side. Right. Whereas if they don't know anything about fingering technique, I'll have to teach them, and then I'll have to tell them this is how I played it. So you will have to play it like this. Whereas if they have first few classes one-on-one, they'll be able to assimilate and they'll be able to interpret it in a particular way, in such a way that they'll know that I'm playing like this, so they'll also have to play like this.
Right.
So if it is vocal, it's easier. In Veena, it is a bit tough. So we'll have to explain to them all these things and then teach online.
Okay.
So first few classes coming direct one-on-one is much better than teaching online. But because of Corona being a deterrent right now, I think I'll have to find ways of teaching, and I think I'll have to up my skills in that way.
Great. Okay, so thanks a lot for your time today. It was great talking to you. So for my listeners over here, could you just play a small piece for us
Sure.
to listen to. I'll just turn on the tanpura for you. So what piece is this?
This is Hamsa Nandi, Ragam Hamsa Nandi, and so if I have to explain the notes, it's Sajjam, Suddharashabam, Antaragandaram, Pratimadhyamam, Chatushruti Devatam, Kakali Nishadam. And the way I played is with an influence of Hindustani and Carnatic blend. And the specialty of the ragam is that you aim for sa at the very end. You play as many notes as possible without resting your resting the phrase in sa in such a way that when you reach sa there is a satisfaction and there is a feel of completeness. Correct.
Right.
So
right.
that is the specialty of this particular ragam, which is again similar to Shubhabantarali, which has the same effect, where once you play without pa and without sa, and then you rest on sa, you feel that completeness.
Right. Beautiful. So thanks a lot for appearing on my channel here and talking to my listeners about your experience in teaching Carnatic Music Veena Online. And friends, Baradwaj has a wonderful YouTube channel, and I'm be linking posting the link to his channel in the description of this video. So please do check it out. He creates some amazing videos. So he does a lot of solo videos, and he has his student as well appearing in some of those videos. So make sure that you check out those videos as well. And thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of the Empathic Designer podcast. As always, if you have any questions or if you would like to talk to Baradwaj, please leave a note in the comment section below, and we'll be glad to have a conversation with you. And as always, to get the latest updates from my channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and also chime in the bell icon for getting those regular updates from my channel. Thank you and have a wonderful day.